We ready? Okay. This is Wednesday, April 30th, 2014, and I would like to call to order the Open Space and Ecology Committee for this date, and we have just barely a quorum here at, let's see, what is it, 6:36? 6:40? 6:40. All right. Any changes to the agenda?
Nope.
All right. Can I get a move to adopt the agenda?
I so move.
A second? Great. Thanks so much. Any items of oral communication not on the agenda? No? No? I just want to mention just news of the day, the broken water main in LA that's lost something like 20 million gallons of water. So you can all catch up on the news when you get home. It's a horrifying sight. On to item number 3, our work plan review and revision. Does everybody have their copy of the paperwork? Does anybody need time to review it?
I looked at it earlier.
Okay. Are you up? I know you've had a hard day, Glenn, so.
So what are we doing to this thing tonight?
So the idea for tonight is to review this. We are anticipating having a meeting with the liaison committee at your September meeting. Mm-hmm. And so that way you'd be able to go over what your work plan is with the liaison committee, and they may provide you information regarding the work plan, or you may ask them if there's items on your work plan that you want them to have a higher, that the council would have a higher priority on than others, to make sure that we're doing what the city council wants us to do.
Okay.
So that would be the purpose for tonight.
Okay. So, Natalie, under item 6, pollution, and I think this is the best place for it. I thought maybe we should add the rodenticide, since that's an issue we've been pursuing. And under item B, I was thinking quarry and baylands, because the baylands is having quite a bit of dust issues too. Other than that, my personal feeling was that this is an awesome work plan, and I feel like we need to not focus so much on reworking the plan as much as how are we going to get this done. That's my personal feeling.
Just one comment. Last meeting we talked about permeable pavement, and it doesn't appear that that's going to be a solution for a lot of Brisbane because of the sliding issues. But by the end of the meeting, we'd kind of decided that one of the things we did want to do was to work on the amount of paving that's allowed in residences, or at residences, or on lots, I guess would be the right way to say it, both because of water drainage and because of habitat preservation, conservation. So I'm not sure where that belongs in here. Maybe landscaping, urban forestry, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I do think we should follow up on that.
Yeah.
And Natalie is doing some research with San Francisco, right?
So I did contact Sausalito, and they currently don't have any kind of ordinance for permeable or non-permeable pavements.
Okay.
And then San Francisco, as far as, I think I let you know, but just for everyone else to know, they have an issue with pavement of front yards rather than backyards, and that's because their front parking space is so limited that they're paving over their front yards to create more parking space. And so that they have some kind of ordinance for that I'm searching.
Okay.
That would be good. So where do we put it in here, or do we even want to include it?
I think it's a great idea to include it, Glenn, because I do feel that habitat conservation is, that we should work that into the residential community, not just on the mountain. Hi, Kina.
You should probably put it
I mean, I
under
think
the
E under
Item 2,
landscaping. Yeah.
under
Item
number
2,
2.
item C under landscaping.
Maybe we could call it,
Sure.
I put pavement of lots, or maybe something like, I don't know. We'll work on something.
So maybe we should call it E.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
Get
thinking.
its own. Okay, great.
Give it its own. And I think the other thing you might want to do is maybe look through it and maybe put like maybe a priority 1, 2, and 3.
Oh my
these.
goodness.
Just so that way when you talk to council, you can say these are the things that we consider our high priority items. These are the medium, and these are lower. And that way, you know, the city council has different perspective. Because then after that, the next aspect of doing it would be then to try and schedule when we're going to do it throughout the next couple of years.
You're gonna make me cry, Stuart.
I'm trying to put some parameters around what we're doing.
I know.
I'm
Problem
sorry.
is, it all seems so terribly important to me.
It is, but unfortunately, you're only meeting once or twice a month at the most.
Yeah.
Now, if you meet more often, we could probably do more, but you'd probably be doing it with less people on your committee.
Yeah.
So it's a trade-off.
Well, should we go through each of these points and prioritize each of the subcategories as importance as you were recommending?
I mean, I think that would be a good thing to do. So that way, when you meet with the city council in about a month and a half, that you'd be able to at least have that kind of a conversation with them to make sure that your priorities and their priorities are similar.
And at the end of the year, we could say, well, we knocked this off, we knocked that off, and then
Yeah.
move the other lower ones up.
Yep. Well, there'll be other high ones that come on, I'm sure.
Yeah, always.
But that's always the problem.
Go ahead. Glenn.
One further question. We are scheduled to talk about the Levinson property and its ecological value on the 27th of August, I think it is. And I'm just wondering if that should be included as a sub-item on here, or does it not belong here?
No, I mean, if you're working on it, it should be
All right.
someplace.
So we should,
Well, I think that would probably go under landscaping and forestry too.
no, because that's really an acquisition or a potential acquisition. We haven't really figured that out yet. We're going to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
But you can, that's a good idea. I mean, what you could do is you could talk about it under,
1, vegetation management and city open space.
yeah, I mean, you can add it
Okay.
to like purchases, and then like E could be purchases.
Wait a minute, isn't there a purchase?
That's what I was wondering, but I didn't see
Oh,
it.
okay.
I think there is an acquisition
Is there?
somewhere. Well, there's item 2, Roman numeral 2.6, reports to city council, open space report. I'm not
Right.
sure.
Well, that's what, I mean, so every year on
Okay.
what we've done is do every year before I got here, you would do an annual report to the city council. And part of that would be what your acquisitions were, or what acquisitions were made on behalf of the city. So, I mean, I think if you just put it under number 1, vegetation management, because it's a little bit odd, but to say, make it E, purchases, and then you can do like small Roman numeral or letter I, and you could do acres, and then II, Levinson property.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Great.
Okay.
Where is this going to go under?
So under Roman numeral 2,
Item 1.
item 1, letter E, calling it purchases or acquisitions, because that acquisition sounds so much more official.
It does.
And then under E, small I, acres, as identified in the open space plan. And then under II, Levinson property. Because we're still in the process of buying acres up in the
Yeah.
acres. or buying lots in the acres might be a better way to say it.
Good.
Okay.
So, I don't know, I'd like to hear what the committee feels, but the idea of going through this line by line seems really overwhelming to do in a meeting. And I'm sorry I didn't have this idea earlier, but it would be possible for Natalie to do like a survey monkey survey or something where we could put, and we can just go down for each one of these items and click 1, 2, or 3
Yeah.
on each thing. I think that would make our meeting a lot less exhausting and perhaps give more empirical,
Yep.
objective, kind of useful information.
Works for me.
How
And
did,
then we could bring it back at the next meeting,
yeah.
When are we meeting with council again?
September.
September, okay.
So if you do that at the August 27th meeting.
So if we all have it done before the August 27th meeting.
Well, right, you would return it to Natalie prior to August 27th.
Yeah.
So that way she could give you back the results.
So is this for each item and sub-item?
I'm willing, I think maybe we should talk briefly about that. It seems to me like we should do most of the sub-items, but there may be specific cases where that's not applicable. Or it just doesn't work, just doesn't make sense to do it that way.
Well, I definitely think we should include the sub-items.
Yeah,
I think we should just put them in there.
okay.
I mean, it might end up being an Excel spreadsheet as opposed to a survey monkey.
Okay, yeah.
So we just rank it 1, 2, and 3 as
Right.
far as priority?
Right, 1 being high, 2 being medium, and 3 being low.
So that is going to include Roman numerals 1, 2, and 3?
And yes,
Okay. And I guess, where's Roman numeral 4?
we completed it, I guess.
That's the complete list of completed tasks.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. But, okay. That was easier and quicker than I thought.
Yeah. Does anybody, if anybody could read over it really quick and just see if there's something that they feel does not make sense to do this way that we would want to talk about here and now as a committee, I'd appreciate that if everybody's willing.
There's one thing I was thinking about that I've been talking to some of my patients about, and they seem to be somewhat interested. And it kind of goes back to what we can actually get done and things that we actually can't get done. It seems to me that when we ask people to do solar panels on the roofs or businesses to solar panelize their parking lots, this all becomes a voluntary project. It's not something we can force them to do at this time. Maybe in 5 years, absolutely. But at this time, it doesn't seem like it. So I was wondering, it's probably already been done, but I wanted to get a list of different companies that we can work with, say for solar, and then just go down the list. But just use solar for an example, and then find the different companies that provide solar services in the area of Brisbane, and which ones would give us a good deal, which ones are going to hold your hand and walk you through the process, and then present it via, the Star or something like that, so people go, oh, it's totally doable, and then move forward from there.
We're actually working, Barbara and I were just down here earlier today. We're working on an energy strategy for Brisbane, and that could be part of it.
Okay. So, yeah, let me know when you get together for your next meeting, and I'll try to make some time to come down.
Yeah, getting people to do this would be
I'm
great.
getting ready to put solar on my roof, but I'm at the crossroads right now. I don't know where to go. You just go to any one of the internet sites. There's 25, 30 different companies, and you're just going.
Yeah. My personal recommendation is to talk to somebody you know has solar on their roof. But we will also take into your suggestion.
But I don't want to make that a big focus of this meeting.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure it was already included in this somewhere. And that we're working on that, because that is something I want to work towards.
It looks like on item 5, the partial list of completed tasks, there are probably some things we could add to that, like the styrofoam ordinance. I mean,
Oh, yeah, please make us feel better.
I mean, you forgot the styrofoam ordinance. You did the letter for PERS, that resolution.
The divestment.
Right.
The divestment.
Is there a way I could get a scanned copy of that with all the signatures on it?
$2.
Sold.
I'm sure there is. Let me let Natalie talk to Sherry.
Okay.
I keep saying let me do it, but I'm only here once a week, and Natalie keeps reminding me of things I'm not doing. So I'm going to have to start saying I'll have Natalie talk to Sherry and get you one.
Thanks, Natalie. I'd appreciate that. 350.org would like to post that on their page.
Do you want me to? Do we want to remove feral cats? I'm just looking at that one right now. And I'm thinking we met with the community. The community got together, and I think they have a network to deal with feral cats and feral cat neutering. So that one we could move from here to the completed list if you think that we have done as much as we as a committee can do.
Yeah, I think that's all right. Or
Weren't we talking last meeting about something to do with not feeding the raccoons or something like that? I mean, that's not the same thing, but it seems like kind of in the same category.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do about feral raccoons. I think they're all feral.
No, people feeding the raccoons and or limiting their access to the underground highway.
We're going to write an article for the Star about dealing with wild animals.
Okay.
So we can put that under education.
yeah, let's add that to our list of.
Yeah. Called care and feeding of wildlife. Okay.
Do we know when the Recology DEIR is going to be out? And is this committee going to have to do a lot of work on it? And if we are going to have to do a lot of work on it, should it be in our upcoming priorities list?
I don't know when it's coming out. That may be. We may want to add that to the list of things to talk to the city council about. I don't know if they're. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be quite the same as the Baylands DEIR.
What a relief.
Well, it's a smaller, more contained project. It becomes a project EIR as opposed to a specific
Program
plan
EIR.
program EIR. So I don't know what the city council's thought process is in
Okay.
working through that. But that might be something we want to add to the. Maybe not part of the work plan right now, but ask council if they would like us to add it to the work plan.
Yeah. Natalie, are you keeping some kind of a list of things that we're going to ask the council? I'm really afraid I'm going to forget.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe I'll send that out soon. So
Okay.
everyone can
That'd be good.
double check.
Great.
Yeah.
Did anybody see anything that they felt needed to be dealt with tonight in committee on the work plan? I didn't either. I think we can bash through it all online.
Okay.
All right. Is everybody amenable to moving on to number 4, calendar of events?
See?
All right. Community festival. Natalie, would you like to let us know how our famous, fabulous pinata is coming?
Oh, so everyone decided they wanted something that actually looked like a black foot rather than a boot. And I called them, and they don't really give estimates. They just said, go ahead and order it online.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess $100 seemed to be okay with.
Does that include the candy or whatever we put in it?
No, that would just be the
Okay.
pinata and minus the pole as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like $3,000 on the budget for projects. or something like that. So I'm not overly concerned about, $100, $200. It's not going to be a make or break issue for us. Now, the question is, are you going to really want candy in it? I'm just saying, I know how some of the people on the committee are about these kinds of issues.
We'll have to put in some candy, otherwise it won't fly. Hopefully we can all come up with a few creative ideas of non-candy items to put in.
Yeah, I'm afraid if we fill the whole thing full of little notes with energy-saving tips.
And no one's going to like that. And you can't do light bulbs either, because when they fall, they break, and that would really cause a hazardous material if they were all CFLs.
Yeah. If we put in, a dozen, of 50 rolled up pieces of paper that had energy-saving tips, that would, in with the candy, I think that would be very appropriate.
Or even you could do something where you do rolled up pieces of paper where they turn it into the booth and get something. Like if you can do I think we might have some bags left over.
Okay.
Or shirts and stuff like that, so you can do rolled up piece of paper where they can come, where that way you're forcing people to come to the booth and eat, because of it.
That's a great idea,
A bunch of
Stuart.
paper on the grass when we're done.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
It's biodegradable.
I know.
So the other thing we could do is put pieces of paper with little questions on it, energy-saving questions.
Yeah.
And if they get the right answer, they get a prize.
Yeah. So I think that would be in kind of an innovative way. And maybe what we could do is talk to Russ to see how we could best work that into the overall schedule of the community festival.
Okay.
So it's not just a kind of like to the side. Maybe when there's a break in the music and we can say this is the piñata time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should have some kind of poster too. Big explanatory thing.
Okay.
Could we get some of the kids to make a big piñata? I mean, would that be... Because Michelle said she had that big inflatable foot. If we could borrow that from her and get the kids to do a piñata, does that save her $100 or something else?
If you want, we can try it first and see how it turns out, and then if it doesn't work, we can order it then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we should do that next year, but we should probably start when school's in session, so it could be a school project.
Okay, I think there's enough kids bumping around in the summer without anything to do that...
But the question is organizing them and making sure that it gets done. I mean...
What about recruiting the local Girl Scouts troop?
We could ask them
Yeah, there's
before
also Sea Scouts.
we buy.
Yeah. Should we just give ourselves like a week or something?
How long does it take to order one?
I'll double check.
Because that will be our deadline. Is like if we have to order it, we have to have it done before the deadline for ordering. Otherwise, we'll sit there and go.
Yeah.
Good idea. It didn't work. Natalie will check on that too.
Okay. And plenty in advance. We don't want it to be like will it come in the mail before the park?
No, right, and that's what I'm saying. We need to make sure that we have.
Yeah. Give ourselves plenty of time.
Yeah.
So, and also, Natalie, can you please poke Michelle about borrowing that foot? Because I would really like to have it be a community project and save the money, but I know that I'm personally, if it was me, it would not happen. At this point, I would be like, okay. So let's just see if we can find, because that seems like a good project for community and kids and get them involved.
We could ask Russ if they're doing arts and crafts in the camp.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know what weeks we have left, but if we have an arts and craft week left, that might be something they can work on.
That'd be a good project, yeah. But I think the kids need supervision. I would hate explaining to parents a bunch of children running around covered with black paint or something. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So we'll have Natalie check with Russ to see what's going on at the camp.
okay.
He's getting lots of stuff today.
So the website says 3 weeks for the custom piñata to come.
Okay, so that means September.
So we have a little time to mess around with this.
1 month.
Well, if we've got 1 month, let's give ourselves 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, and also what you have is if we have a month, then school starts and we have after-school program. So it could also be done as part of the after-school program.
Yeah.
If Russ wants to do it there. So
Okay, great.
we could find out from Russ whether or not how excited he will be with having his staff supervise.
I'm sure Joe will be thrilled.
Yeah, as I'm saying, we'll check to see how excited we will be.
So, where were we? What else do we need to talk about for the community festival? Carbon footprint calculator. Ouch. I have not been making my weekly goals on that, so I need to get panicky.
So the other way to do it is you could have a computer with a website that's hooked up. Because
Yeah.
if we're going to do something where we're going to have electricity anyway, there we can just do something as simple as that.
Yeah, why not?
I have tried to do that in years in the past, and every year something came, so it didn't work out for some reason.
I know we probably don't have internet. You know,
Yeah, I
we
think that
would
was
need
it.
somebody who would have a hotspot for us.
Yeah. I think maybe that was it, because power issue is resolvable.
Right, but we would need somebody who can put together a hotspot for us. And we should be able to find somebody.
There's probably somebody in town who has a portable hotspot.
Right, and or either that, or you have something where it's a downloadable one, where you can just download it onto the computer, as opposed to having to.
Well, my patient said today that all Verizon phones have a function that acts like a hotspot. I don't know anything about it other than that. He was just talking about it.
I think all smartphones do, but my sister's one were unable to get either of theirs to work like that, even though they're supposed to. So I'm not sure how
Yeah,
easy it is
I
to
think
do
it involves tethering the
Yeah, I don't
computer
know.
to the phone.
That's what he said.
Yeah. My account doesn't have it, but it's definitely something that people can have.
Yeah.
AT&T charges for it.
Right.
Verizon's supposed to be part of the.
I would hate to use anybody's personal phone, because I would hate to find out we ran up against somebody's data limit and cost them, real problems. So if we are going to go this route, then I think we would need to get a specific device rented or borrowed or
For the day.
for the day.
Okay. Another thing Natalie can check on.
Yeah.
Those hotspots, to buy one costs about $100, and you can get a.
Pinata money.
You see, instead of doing the pinata, you can do a hotspot.
And you can get a data plan. Then you have to buy data.
Right, but if you do it as like a one day, there might be other ways to do it.
One thing about having a PC, we'll have to do it somewhere where there's adequate shade, because if it's a really bright day,
Yeah.
it'll be pretty hard to see.
Or if it's raining. Not so good for the computer.
No,
Yeah.
not so good for the computer.
No.
But if we can get a computer and a printer, so that way you could print out people's carbon footprint for them,
Yeah.
that'd be even cooler.
That'd be awesome.
As long as it's recycled paper.
Yes.
I'm sure the city's got a whole bunch of old junk computers in the back, don't they?
Albert has stripped most of them for parts.
Damn.
For other computers that need help.
We'll just have to buy one of the employees. We'll have to buy Natalie a new computer so we can use her old computer.
I think my husband probably has a spare laptop that we can offer up for the day. It's just the issue of the hotspot. So, and maybe if the city could provide the printer,
Yeah, we could probably do that.
that would be good.
I hope no one would complain that we're using electricity to do this, but whatever.
Everything costs something.
I can just see the cynics in the audience now.
Yeah.
What's your carbon footprint for doing this?
You could probably calculate it with a calculator.
So invasive plant species, I think we all have that pretty well under control. Glenn's going to.
Do we still have the poster board from last year? Okay. Do you think maybe you could get it out for me by the August meeting so I know what to collect?
Right.
And we also need to circulate a sign-up sheet for volunteers.
Yes. Very, very good, Glenn. I thought we weren't doing the biochar. Or is that, it's not biochar, it's, we're not doing,
So-
Sean's
Loma Pre,
Loma Prieta?
Loma Terra de Prieta or something. I
Yeah,
forget the
okay.
name.
So, but we are thinking about doing biochar, which is a little different. Is that the case?
When you say doing biochar,
I don't know. Biochar's on the list, and I don't specifically remember talking about biochar. So
I think that means Sean. We could ask him. He was the one that was doing it.
Yeah, I know. We didn't get very much interest in it, I thought, last year. I think maybe I was thinking maybe we should do it an every other year thing.
Yeah.
Kind of cycle through things was I think, what I was saying last time, so. And we'll also have the brochures to hand out. And I need to get the licorice plant blurb into Natalie very soon. And I saw that Natalie did the pampas grass. So we're making progress there. Do we have any other to-do items for the brochure other than just writing those blurbs and getting them to...
Are we all done with community festival?
Well, I sort of jumped ship because we're planning on handing out the brochures at the community festival. So
Okay.
We need a picture for the cover.
yeah, and I thought the committee wasn't very interested in the picture at the post office. Was my feeling of the consensus that Michelle was really interested in doing that herself, finding something. So
We can give her a couple of weeks,
yeah.
and then if we don't get something,
Okay. So, Natalie, can you give yourself a to-do item to poke Michelle about the inflatable foot and the picture
For photo, yeah.
for the brochure? Yes. Great.
And do we need pictures? There's a tiny little square. I
Mhm.
think on that panel they were talking about Mission Blue Nursery. So were we putting a picture of Mission Blue there? Or what were we putting there?
if we can get a picture of the Mission Blue Nursery, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they must have one. If you drop it, you
Yeah.
ask,
Mission
Mountain.
Mountain Watch.
It's all good with me. Anybody else have any comments about the brochure?
No, I think it's looking good.
Yeah.
One more thing about the community festival.
Sure.
Natalie, you went to that energy upgrade meeting. Did they have any literature that we should be passing out maybe at the community festival on rebates and stuff? I mean,
You mean about PACE?
well, about PACE, or was that an energy upgrade meeting you went to, or is that just a PACE meeting?
It was a PACE meeting, but I can find materials like how we did last year. We kind of got PG&E stuff, and I know that Bosca has rebates on high efficiency toilets. I did contact them, so yeah, I can search for different energy or water saving.
You know,
That'd be good.
tax credits too,
Hmm?
and like anything that if there's tax credits still out there.
Yeah, I think Energy Upgrade California might have, maybe they have some current brochures.
Okay. Littman Science Fair, I think we just said we need to reach out to them soon.
Right. So school starts in a couple of weeks. It might be good to have somebody reach out to Condon, who is the head of the science fair, and to make sure that we're on his radar, and that when they're starting to work on the science fair night where they bring all the students in, is maybe if we can have some ideas for that night for students to start thinking about,
Okay.
as opposed to trying to. So that way, if we have like 3 or 4 ideas, so it might be nice if the committee can think of some what they would think would be really interesting science fair type projects.
Stuart, maybe you could answer this. For that age kid, are these supposed to be really original things, or are they?
So for the 8th graders, it's original. For
Okay.
6th graders, at least this is what they did 2 years ago. For sixth graders, they go to the Exploratorium, and they recreate things from the Exploratorium
Okay.
for themselves. Seventh grade, they start doing more original stuff, but really in conjunction with the teachers. And by eighth grade, they're supposed to do their own science fair project. Now, a lot of them probably look in science fair books.
Yeah.
There's a lot of books out there
Okay.
that have science fair projects. Or if you go online, and you go science fair projects, you'll find a ton of them. So it might be worthwhile for us, for, somebody, and it could be Natalie for all I care, to go through some science fair projects that seem more on an ecology basis, and bring those back to the committee and see if those are the kinds of things that the committee would be interested in. But in the past, it's been things like looking at the pH after the fire, which was an interesting one. There was another person who did trying to figure out what the kilowatts produced from the amount of square footage on the roofs in Crocker Industrial Park are.
Okay.
I mean, it could be things like that. It could be things talking, where you're talking about how does, different kinds of species grow in the different kinds of soil. I mean, those
Or
might be-
water. Okay.
or water. I mean, those are the kinds of things I think would be interesting.
Yeah. All right.
They also do something during the year as well. They have a report or something they have to do. It's on ecology.
Is there?
So, I'm wondering if, Michael, you might want to take this one since you,
Take what one?
uh,
I'm not exactly sure what it is you want done.
I think the first thing is to reach out to Condon and just let him know that we'd like to be more involved than we have been in the past.
isn't Brianna at Littman? No, she's not. Okay. I
Okay,
thought
but-
maybe you had some,
She's in high school.
oh my gosh.
I was going to say both your kids are done.
I remember when Brianna was, never mind. I'm sure you do too. Okay, so,
Doesn't look like that anymore either.
But it might be good just to talk to Condon and see, what his timeline is, and
Okay.
if there's a way that we can get on, at least get some ideas into that first, where they do the
Absolutely.
airplane thing.
if Natalie, if you will give me a
Remember they
poke,
throw airplanes during that first when
like
Condon does his
September.
announcements.
But this is about the science fair, right?
Right, but they do that kickoff with the parents and the kids up there, and they throw airplanes at each other or helicopters or something.
Okay. Well, how about if I just see if we can't push a ecology theme in the science fair?
That'd be good.
Yeah. I was thinking I would actually go through our work plan and see how many ideas I can tease out of here so that maybe we have, maybe the kids are working on things that we can work into our own plan and use them to move us forward and us to move them forward. So,
Let me ask another question. What's the purpose of having the kids get involved in, or us being involved in the kids' science fair and pushing an ecology theme, other than to teach them about it? Is there a
That's
secondary
it.
back
that's about it.
education?
Yeah, the city council, one of their main, or one of the focal points they gave us was community education. So,
Okay, so if it's not the science fair, it could be something else. So if he shuts me down on the science fair, I can push in a different direction immediately.
yeah. Well, I said I would take care of that since Brianna's not even.
Oh, you're going to do that?
I'll do that. Yeah, since my son is going into Littman, I will take care of it. So if you
Bonus.
give me a poke in September, Natalie, and make sure I've gone through this and come up with lists of things that I can talk to Mr. Condon about.
We'll give you a poke in August, because school starts in August.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't. I'm
Condon's
hoping
the-
their kickoff meeting is not in the first week.
No, it's not, but getting Condon's attention, the earlier you can do it,
Okay.
the better.
Okay.
First week, they're just pulling their hair out. And the second week, they start to calm down.
Right.
Yeah.
But, if
Because
you-
the second week's practically September.
is,
Say again?
is it?
Yeah,
They
because
start later?
they start August 21st.
Oh,
Okay,
they're
high
starting
school
late.
starts-
Yeah. So they're starting.
Orientation's next week for high school, and it starts
Okay.
the week after. So
Okay.
14.
So, like first is about September 1st, I think. All right. Energy plan. Glenn, would you like to say some words about that?
Barbara and Natalie and I met today with Karen. Is that her name? From Brisbane, and we agreed, at least tentatively, that we would like to do an energy plan or try to do one. The concern about implementation and making a plan that's meaningful that could actually accomplish something came up again. So we're going to meet with a consultant, I guess, in September or something. Or we didn't actually figure out a day, did we?
Mm-mm.
But it would partly depend on the availability of the consultant. So I guess.
Right. So was the final decision that we were going to meet with council first, or try to meet with the consultant first?
I was thinking about that on the way home, and I've actually kind of changed my mind, and I'm thinking I'd like to meet with the consultant first because, to get anything done, we need two things. We need carrots or we need sticks. Well, we actually need both. And so I'm kind of interested in knowing whether the consultant has any ideas about what those things could be.
Okay.
It's fine with me.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
I'll connect with her and see when everyone can meet.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Also, Karen is going to send Glenn and I a kind of a blank template for an energy plan. It's PDF that we can look at, so we have some ideas about framework. We talked possibility about adding a few other items, but that those items would need to be very specific and concise in order to fit into the framework. And yeah, we're going to try and push this puppy forward. Do you have anything else to add about the energy plan, Glenn?
No.
Does anybody else on the committee have any questions or comments regarding the energy plan?
No.
Okay.
Well, when you have this person come speak, could they come speak at one of our meetings, or?
I think they would come to the subcommittee meeting. And what are the rules governing other committee members showing up at subcommittee meetings? If it's too many, we get in trouble.
We discourage it.
Okay.
Because it may seem as if you're making a decision without it being in public. Let me talk to the attorney. I mean, because it's you don't make any final decisions, so maybe it would be okay.
Okay. I just sounded like you were interested in possibly attending, Mike. So.
It's an area I'd like to be interested in.
So.
Yeah, we'll check with the attorney to see if it might be that you can attend without speaking. I mean,
if we added Mike to the subcommittee, would that?
Well, then you're creating
a quorum.
Quorum.
So that would not be possible.
What about
All right.
That would no longer be a subcommittee.
What about having them come to a committee meeting?
If they're available, you could do that. But it makes some sense to try and do some of the work in the subcommittee, and then having the subcommittee bring back the presentation. Maybe what you do is have the subcommittee meet with the person, and if possible, then have have the subcommittee and that person make a presentation.
Well, it's not really that important that I be there. It's just that it was something I'm interested in, and I can hear about it from the subcommittee, and then.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a small area I'm focused in on at this point anyway.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it expand, but yeah.
So if we're going to do this, then when you let us know when our meeting is going to be with the consultant, Natalie, would you please also send Mike an email prompt about any questions he might have that he might like the subcommittee to present to the consultant, so that we can at least get Mike to have his input, addressed, or his questions addressed. All right. Should we review the notes? I don't know what notes we have to review. Notes. Oh, these notes are the ones from Lisa Portacovo?
Yes.
Okay. I'm afraid I did this out of order. I apologize. So, you should all have a memo from Lisa and Stuart dating December 8th, 2010.
Actually, I have two of them.
Oh, two of them.
There's a December one and a January one.
Okay, great. You're right, Glenn. Does anyone need time to review this?
Sorry, which document is that? What's it called?
They look like these.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Glenn, do you have any questions or comments regarding either of these documents?
These documents, especially the first one. Actually, the second one seems to duplicate it.
In large part, yeah.
Both in here. They represent kind of how far we got on devising the elements of an energy strategy for Brisbane. And we had actually gone quite a way with this. And then right around the same time, San Mateo County, well, actually the state of California started an energy upgrade program. And we put our efforts into that. Energy upgrade was a website, a set of rebates, and a lot of information from homeowners on how to do home energy upgrades and install solar. So it's some of the types of questions that you're interested in. So we worked with Energy Upgrade California. We had an open house. We had an energy forum that was mostly focused on solar. And that was the actual products of our energy efforts.
Kima,
Yes.
any questions, thoughts?
No, I haven't really had an opportunity to review it, so.
How about Mike? No? Okay.
And we had months, and the months are still good. If you look at, the one from 2011,
We
had
just need to
ideas
change
of
the
when.
year, huh?
Yeah, that's why we put down months. We didn't put down the year when we were going to talk about it.
Okay.
But the idea was that we were going to talk about all these different things as a committee during these months. And we never got anywhere.
I had some questions that perhaps Stuart and Natalie can answer. On the table, on the December 8th memo, most things are broken down into electricity and natural gas. And then it just says city government usage. And that does not have any units attached to it. So I'm wondering, city government usage of what?
So,
Second to last item.
Yeah, so you're getting me a little bit cold.
Okay.
And this is I think right as I was transitioning into here. So this is probably all of the carbon that we produce between our electricity, our therms, and probably also our miles that we drive. So this is probably, and this is a survey that, as it says, it was a community scale survey, and it wasn't done by us. And it was just, we were feeding information into these people, and they were pulling, so they went through our electric bills. They went through probably our our gasoline usage to say, okay, here's what you have done. Mm-hmm. And my guess, I have to go back and look, but I'll bet you the reason there's two numbers there, I'll bet you the 1256 is probably our electricity, and our 96 is probably or 92 is probably our gas therms.
It says lawn and garden equipment on that line.
Okay, I'd have
Is
to
that
go
the
check.
city's
Pretty small
lawn and
item.
garden equipment?
Well, we do. I mean, we have
Yeah.
our tractors and stuff to maintain. So I'm wondering if that maybe that's our gasoline, and the
No.
other one is the
That it is.
facilities. I can check.
I'm thinking that's like maybe residential use, lawn and garden equipment, like people's lawnmowers and.
Yeah. Hard to say. We can go back and look.
Well, I don't want Natalie to spend a lot of time on it because it doesn't come to very much.
Sure doesn't.
No, and this was what the real issue was when you guys talked about it back in 2010. Mm-hmm. If you look at what the driving force is,
It's 101.
it's 101.
Yeah.
And that's why it kind of put a stop. We didn't really move forward with the climate action plan. But I think what they've done with the climate action plan is they've taken 101 out of the
Yeah.
numbers. So it makes a lot of the things that you're trying to do more local.
Yeah. So what I did here is I took my pencil and I put it over that line. So now that that line no longer exists for us, it's real obvious that it's the consumption is dominated by the commercial sector and electricity consumption within the commercial sector.
Why are we saying that we can't do anything about state highways? I'm just curious.
What are you going to do? Tell people not to drive?
Facilitating high-speed rail would reduce the use of automobiles, and Brisbane is one of the prime candidates for a rail yard because the Baylands used to be a rail yard. So one of the things we could do locally that would have a global effect would be to support alternative transportation modes that would reduce the use of 101.
Great. But I think we're going to have a limited effect on Caltrain and Samtrans. And the rail yard might, in fact, be our biggest opportunity to make the biggest effect on the biggest sector.
Yeah,
So
I just figured I'd throw that in there because we're not entirely powerless. The way we think of the development of the Baylands, there's an opportunity there to be part of a larger thing, which is trying to do good for California and the climate. So that's the only reason I put it out there, not necessarily that should be the focus of this committee. I think that there's a lot of other things we could do locally, but we shouldn't write off the state highways completely.
Well, one of the things that came up at the meeting today was the fact that Brisbane really is very small, and there are a lot of things that we can't do or that we can't do effectively. For instance, we don't have enough money to provide much in the way of incentives or assistance for people to do audits and stuff. So one of the things I really want to find out from the consultant, if possible, is what's the county going to do? And, does it really make sense for us in Brisbane to spend a lot of time developing an energy plan when there's so little that we can do, but many things that we might be involved in at the county level, including what you're talking about? Yeah. I mean, that's been my frustration with this whole thing, from the beginning, is that for something like energy use, the energy infrastructure is a lot bigger than we are. And the money to fix this is going to come, it can't come from us. And, we could maybe pass an ordinance that would affect business, but I think in a lot of ways we probably can't even do that.
I think, you raise a really good point that, we really, for the size, I think we're the second smallest municipality in San Mateo County. Is that right? So, Colma, and they're only slightly smaller. I think that you raise a lot of good points. One other thing to consider, there was the renewable energy plan for the Baylands, and that's a way, there's potential energy that we could be, generating there as well. So, yeah, I think you're right. At the end of the day, we are a small town, and we can only do certain things. But I think all of us would agree that we're morally bound to do what we can, and not to just throw up our hands and say, "Well, we don't have the resources of San Francisco or the money of Palo Alto or whatever," and say, "Well, we're not going to do anything."
Right, but
I don't think that's what you're saying either.
But doing what we can always involves, people's efforts going to meetings. So would it be better for those of us who are interested in these things to be spending our time going to meetings at the county level, or spending our time working on a climate action plan for Brisbane? Yeah. That's the kind of question I'm asking. And it really does come down to that, I think, at some point. You've got a limited number of people in this city who are willing to go to meetings on energy and climate, or who have the time, who can.
Yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead.
I hearken again to going back to the Sustainable San Mateo Forum, and they gave the architectural award to some residential building that was providing 50% of its common area electricity with solar panels, and sort of trying not to yak, because it just was like, wow. I actually think that Brisbane is an amazing place. And think about what we did with San Bruno Mountain. I think if we put on our big girl pants and our big boy pants, I think this community can do incredible and amazing things. And sometimes that is because we are small and focused. So that's my speech.
I mean, what we have the ability to do that other cities don't is that we have the ability to make personal contact with people who live in town. It's just a matter of, and I agree with you, Glenn, it's a matter of how much effort do you put in to reduce 13,000 tons of carbon in Brisbane versus if you look at maybe you do something in county-wide, it might reduce 50,000 tons county-wide, but only 3,000 tons here. Mm-hmm. And that's, I mean, it's an interesting question, and it's just a matter of, do we become, this is one of the questions I think you guys debate with the Baylands. Do we become a showcase for certain things and we become that local experiment of here's how things could work? Or do we try and say, okay, there's bigger problems and let's try and influence the bigger problem?
So that is part of it, but really it's not even that. What I'm, if we were to go after commercial electricity use, and that was the row you were reading, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a fairly big deal, but I don't know, were you with us when we met with Mitch Bowl from the Chamber of Commerce, right? So how do we get the businesses to do that, especially because the owners are real estate investment trusts or whatever it is? So the only way I can think of to get them to do it is to pass some kind of an ordinance. Maybe, I'm not sure what kind it would be. Can Brisbane even do that?
Well, I mean, what we can do is you pass things like the green, you look at your green building ordinance and say, how are we, what is our ultimate goal? As you're going through your action plan, your community climate plan, where do we want to get to? So right now we produce, in 2005, 61 million tons locally. We want to get that down to 30 million tons. We don't think we're going to have much of an impact on local roads, which is 21 million. So how do we go about doing others? And you sit there and say, okay, we recognize that the green building ordinance has to have more teeth to it. We need to put, that if you're going to redo your building, you're going to need to have solar panels on it. Mm-hmm. And so you're right, you don't change it in the next 5 years, but you change it in the next 10 to 20. Mm-hmm. And, those changes you make on those kinds of things in the next 10 to 20 might have an impact, but on the shorter term, we don't have a lot of money as a city. We don't have infinite money as a city. But if it's the city's desire to say that we're going to figure out how do we do joint purchasing for residents for solar panels, or does the city become, and my boss will kill me. Do we become, a loan? Do we provide low interest loans for people who want to do solar panels? I mean, there's ways you can do this that has impact. That you can provide some incentives without costing the whole community a lot of money. But philosophically, the question is the community behind changing the way the community acts? Mm-hmm. Because what the city government is just the community coming together to live out its values. We have a value of safety. We have a value of recreation, and we provide money for those. So the question is, do we have a value as a community of a smaller carbon footprint? And if we do, do we put some money towards creating a smaller carbon footprint as a community? But that's, and now I'm getting off into my philosophical soapbox on what I think government is all about. Mm-hmm. And it may not be practical.
That's okay.
Stuart, I think, you bring up a bunch of really good points about the fact that the city, collectively is the community or the expression of the community's will. I would, say to that or add to that those things have to be, they can't be prescriptive and based on penalties or requirements, because I think Glenn might agree. Our experience in the Green Building Ordinance Subcommittee was that trying to step forward and make be leaders to say, hey, this is how it could be done, without really even making any drastic proposals, was met with a lot of resistance from people who said, well, who is the city to tell us that we should do it this way or that way? And there's a lot of resistance. And so the idea of the city getting into things like helping finance solar panels is a lot better than requiring people to put solar panels in, because when you require people to do things, they start fighting it. But when you encourage them and you provide incentives, then I think there's a lot more room for action in that way.
I can go on a long time on philosophical questions like this, and I agree with you. But we also have prescriptive laws in our society, because there are certain things that we as a society feel we need prescriptive laws on. Mm-hmm. One of which is stop signs. Mm-hmm. We don't trust each other to allow cars to flow through intersections, and we have stop signs. So it's a prescriptive law because we know that this is going to benefit society as a whole, unless people will die. So there are certain things that we sit there and say, yeah, we're going to do prescriptive laws because we recognize that individually you're not going to make it, but collectively we think it's a good idea. Seatbelt laws. Mm-hmm. Individual decisions have community-wide effects. So I think it's a combination of the two.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's that idea of saying, okay, what is our community value? And when you get resistance and saying we don't want to be far out there, obviously we're rubbing up against a different community value. And the question is, what's that community value that we're rubbing up against?
It could be defined in many ways, but using the seatbelt as an example, there was a lot of. I don't think now in this day and age, people would think, oh wow, why don't we make cars without seatbelts? But I remember as a kid, there were a lot of people who were resistant to the idea of making car manufacturers put in seatbelts, that it was onerous, and airbags were the same way. And it was it was only through being added as a luxury add-on that it was ultimately accepted. And now most cars have them as standard equipment because
and as a community, we think it's worth it because we're still paying extra for seatbelts.
All right, I'd like to rein this conversation back in a little as chair.
It's been a pleasure.
Exercising my chair muscles.
All right.
Smack the gavel.
One of these days, you guys. One of these days.
But I guess to bring it back to the energy strategy, and that's I think where we got started is looking for ways that we can make a difference in the community and help people who want to make a difference make the difference that they're looking to make through encouraging positive behaviors. And I think that would be a winning strategy for looking at what the Energy Subcommittee might, propose.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you got me started. You're waylaying me. So I think the problem with taking it your stance entirely is that the number of participants we have is not going to be adequate to head off climate change. So unfortunately, I think we're in a position where if we're morally responsible, we need to take a prescriptive stance, or both. We need both.
Yeah, we need both.
So Glenn, you look like you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, I'm hoping one of the things that the consultant could tell us is what Brisbane can do as a city. And I'm not sure that they will be able to do that. But so, for instance, one idea that's sort of kind of in the middle between prescriptive and incentive is requiring disclosure of energy use at point of sale or when a building is offered for lease. So, it's prescriptive in the sense that it's the law that you have to do that. I mean, if this were passed, but then it's really up to the person.
Yeah, you let the market decide on whether that is a good investment or a good rental or whatever, and that's.
Mm-hmm. So I had another question about this memo. I added up.
Are we on the late one or the early one?
The first one, the December one. I added up the percentages here, and they come to 100%, 110%, and that defies mathematical convention. So, any ideas about that, or should I just let it go?
How much is it?
110%.
I'd let it go.
Okay.
It's probably a bunch of rounding.
Not for
Errors.
10, not for 10%.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and see what she did.
Okay.
It means it's time to lower our emissions.
Yeah. Oh no, we're using 110% of what we're using. Okay. Any other comments? Or looks like an awesome plan that came up before, and I wish we gotten a little further on it, but obviously I know this committee has not been idle. So, is everybody ready to go on to the second one?
Yep.
Mike, any questions, comments?
Not so far.
Glenn? Kima?
I'm going to scan real quick.
Sure. Glenn, you want to make comments while Kima's scanning?
Well, one of the things in here is the survey, the energy survey. Do we have the results of that? I think we actually did this.
We did.
didn't
We did it, and and I brought it back when we did it.
Yeah, I know. Do you remember?
Natalie, is that something you can find?
Actually, probably not. It's probably something I can find.
Okay.
Okay. Did we get useful results? Did you remember that? Did we get enough a response rate for it to mean anything?
We did.
Okay.
I just, top of my head, I can't remember what we did.
No, that's okay. I just wondered. So we did do it. We did get.
Right, and we printed it, and we brought it, and I'm pretty sure we brought it back to the committee when we did it.
I'm sure you did too. I just don't remember.
Yeah.
Isn't there another survey going out soon? City survey? No?
Not that I'm aware of yet.
For some reason, I thought there was.
I mean, there's going to be one about the Baylands at some point.
Okay, well, maybe we could work some energy ecology awareness questions into that one. Will we have any input on that survey, or is it?
It's a council subcommittee that's looking at the Baylands and
Okay.
the Baylands EIR.
Okay.
So so I think it's more up to them. You can.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen what the survey would look like yet.
Natalie, could you put that on our list of questions for September to see if council's willing for us to try and make some kind of partial use of that to address maybe definitely ecology and open space issues vis-a-vis the Baylands, but maybe also some broader questions that might help us inform our energy action plan? Maybe they'll say no. That's their prerogative. All right.
Should we come up with questions? Maybe at the next meeting.
It's actually being done by professionals. If you tell them what areas you want to do, they're going to vet them through different kinds of ways so you have more professionally done questions. And
Okay.
yeah, so I mean, if council's interested and you give them that direction, they'll go through their process of making sure they're not biased questions and all the kinds of things you have to do as a social researcher.
Do we have a deadline for that? Do you know where council's at?
I know that they had focus groups to talk about the Baylands and see what kinds of information people, the average people are interested in learning about or don't have enough information about. And from there, they're going to then devise the survey. But I'm guessing it's another couple of months.
Okay. So it sounds like we don't have to panic or anything.
No. But if you talk to them in September, that'd be good.
Okay, great. Any other, Mike and Kima? No? Nothing? Okay. So, we still have our, golly gee willikers, where'd my agenda go? So I guess we should talk about the invasive species brochure. We already touched upon that when we talked about the community festival. But I'd like to come back around to it one more time in case anybody's thought of anything or we want to talk about it for its own sake.
I'm sorry, going back around to what?
To talk about the brochure, the invasive species plant brochure again.
Knocked that sucker out of the park last time.
Awesome.
I suppose if people want to read what I wrote on Pampas Grass and then tell me whether or not to send that to Elena.
That's a great And I wish I had done mine, but I haven't. I almost got time to do it today.
I tried to find some things on Licorice Plant. I didn't find too much.
Yeah. Well, I will still dig that, and I will maybe even, since I'm in an open space and ecology frame of mind, maybe I'll do it when I go home tonight.
I think what you wrote looks good. The only small editorial change I would suggest is that to say that pampas grass doesn't provide habitat for native species. And then maybe, moreover, the growth and spread rate takes over landscapes and outcompetes native plants. Something like that. But I thought it looked pretty good.
First paragraph, third sentence actually. The grass spread all over the state. That sounds abrupt to me. Maybe the grass has spread all over the state. It's just a phrasing thing.
I mean, it's past tense. You could also say the grass is spreading, or
Yeah.
or you could say the grass spreads all over.
Or continues to spread.
Yeah.
Or something. It's this the transition between.
Subsequently, the gap.
Yeah. Just that first part of that sentence reads a little choppy.
Sure.
That's all.
Now, one thing you could do is maybe combine the second sentence and the third. So pampas grass was introduced in Santa Barbara by nursery operators, comma, and spread all over the state. That makes it sound less abrupt, doesn't it?
Yeah. There's a number of ways to tackle that sentence, but
Sure.
any other comments on pampas grass? Okay. Is everybody amenable to moving on to street tree lists?
Sure.
Okay. Great. We had talked before possibly about putting this into a spreadsheet. I know you've got a long to-do list, Natalie, but I think that would be a lot easier for me to look at than trying to mentally collate 3 different documents.
So, and what exactly is it? Just to make a single list out of all these lists? Is that what we're trying to do?
For me, that would be a good starting place if we had like a spreadsheet that had like first column common name, second column lab name, third column height, fourth column, water requirements, fifth column special considerations like disease resistance or invasive roots. Seventh column, approved for uses in the following areas, near power lines, open spaces, whatever, so that if we had all the information in one document, that would make it. I don't know, what else do we need to do in terms of reviewing this? It's on our agenda to review it,
Yeah.
but I don't personally know enough about all of these any of these species to comment on them individually.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know enough about trees to know which ones are which.
Mm-hmm.
I think of our current committee members, probably Michelle is most knowledgeable about this, and unfortunately she's not here. So I feel kind of at a loss. I'm not sure what we're supposed to do about this tree list, these 3 tree lists. And I wonder if we should just wait until Michelle is at a meeting to deal with this.
Sure. I mean, I think what the idea behind it was that there's some trees that you would that I thought, and it was probably Sean and Michelle and Mary, would say that they would recommend that we try and remove because they are, for whatever reason, from our street tree list. Sean brought forward the San Francisco street tree list. I know our street tree list has, has at different times been reviewed by different arborists, and and so I think it's really a question: are there trees that you don't see on the street tree list that you think we should be allowed to use, and do you think there are trees on the street tree list that you think may not be the best for us? And then what we would do is provide those recommendations to the Public Works Department, who would probably work with an arborist and make the final determination as to what's best and what's not. And I mean, we could wait for Michelle to do that.
Quick question, there's 2 different lists of Brisbane City approved tree lists.
Right, so the one that says approved street, the one that says notes, that one was from Sean. He wrote
The
this.
bigger one.
Yes.
Okay.
But they're both approved, or?
So that's why it says approved street tree list notes. So these are notes on the approved list.
That Sean did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're the same list. So the approved street tree list is the same. It's just that.
Okay, so the first problem I noticed with both of these lists is that a lot of the trees are really tall and really wide, and we live in a city that has overhead power lines. And I don't think we're going to be going to underground anytime soon, so most of these trees shouldn't or probably can't be used.
Right. I mean, and those are the kinds of things I think when we're replacing trees that the Public Works Department takes into account.
Only like 5 or 6 trees that can be actually planted.
Yeah. Yeah, I think our small tree list is inadequate, personally. That was one of my senses before when we were going through and talking about this with Sean. Sean wanted to eliminate a lot of trees, probably for very good reasons, but it left us the really tiny list. And so my personal feeling is that when we approach the street tree list again, we need to approach it as an additive exercise. We need to figure out what we can add to this list to enrich the community. So, but I don't really know how to do that exactly. It's a good thought.
And I remember a few meetings ago you wanted me to check our list or pass our list through Friends of the Urban Forest, and
Yeah.
they said, here's this list that we consulted with San Francisco on. So this is the list that they have.
Oh, I had a good idea. So with climate change, maybe we should be looking at trees that are currently to the south of us, because as climate shifts, it's going to largely be shifting north, warmer climates northward. So maybe if we could get San Jose's approved street tree list, then maybe we could find some trees that we could add in to our list as we warm up that would become...
Actually, the global climate's supposed to cool this area down.
Really?
It's going to drive more fog through the Bay Area because it's
Okay.
going to cool down the Central Valley as it gets hotter and we lose the snow caps.
Okay. Then I'm wrong.
You might want things that, capture fog.
Then maybe we should be looking at Sausalito's approved street tree list in addition to San Francisco's.
I also noticed that there's a lot of trees that are on here that we have on our streets that aren't on this list, either of these lists. Like one of my personal favorite and very messy trees, the jacaranda.
Yeah. Jacarandas are beautiful.
Yeah,
And they're only messy for a little while.
2 or 3 times a year.
Well,
Okay, 3 times a year.
it's still not good for us to have, it gets back to the question of how much time do we want to have our crews cleaning up, and what's the potential liability for those
Do
kinds.
they actually clean anything up? It seems to me I'm the only one who ever cleans up my jacarandas.
If they, you're probably, I don't know what their cycle is, but if we're having, if we have trees that are dropping fruits or other types of slippery types of items that fall on sidewalks, it creates potential liability.
Yeah,
So
well, we have an ornamental plum right outside our house that drops. It's the purple leaf plum, but it still does produce a small amount of fruit, and I'm always out there pressure washing it off. Nobody else does it. Okay.
We don't. I mean, as a staff, we don't have time. That's not
No,
one of our.
that's true.
So we don't. We would rather not replant trees that do that all throughout the town.
Yeah. So.
So, and you're right. Maybe we need to look at, seeing if there's other trees that we would recommend to Public Works that they think about that are meet our needs as having trees in the city, and meets our ability to deal with power lines, sidewalks, and maintenance. So.
Another thing I would like to take an additive look at is fruit trees. Now, those can't go on sidewalks, but I do think if we got down to putting this in a spreadsheet, we could have some tree species that are for other applications. So.
Right. You want to probably talk to Parks and Recreation
Yeah.
about trees in parks.
Oh, I remember last time we were talking about doing the spreadsheet, we were also talking about, do they have a list, Parks and Rec? Their own list?
No, I think we talked to Public Works about what works best, because it's a different kind of
Yeah.
soil.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're
It is.
dealing in grass, you have a very different kind of a need than when you're dealing in sidewalk or median.
Okay.
So,
Seems to me all these trees have something they drop on the ground.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're plants. They're deciduous, or they have fruit, or they have flowers, or they have,
Even the pine trees drop needles, so.
yeah, trees drop stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
we can bring it back.
yeah, I remember the reason we brought this up most recently is because we wanted to look at it in terms of making suggestions for replacement trees for the Monterey pines that got taken out. And those would not necessarily need to be street trees, because they would not necessarily need to be small and wouldn't necessarily have to worry about sidewalk uplift. So, I don't know. Is there any comments about that? About any of these that we could add, that we would present this list or a portion of this list to the,
I think if we're asking them to take out the trees and take out the trees, I think they should get to choose what trees they want to put in, so just give them a list.
yeah, so, okay. Big trees, more appropriate for that venue maybe than small trees, or? You think we should just give it to them wholesale?
Let them
That's
decide. I mean,
a valid
Their
view.
property, it's their, I mean, if I was pulling out a tree and having to put in another tree to replace it, I would want to choose my own tree. I mean, provide a list.
I think Michelle and to some degree myself had some concerns about a few potentially bad selections, like another Monterey pine or an acacia or
Those are
a
the
eucalyptus.
so.
No, I know, but
I think last time Michelle was talking about trees that drop sap or something.
yeah.
On here that drop sap, and
So if we and she mentioned what the name of that was last time, but I don't remember.
She said it was an Australian gum or something like
Okay.
that. But
Big gum
I
tree.
think that's the exact name.
It's eucalyptus of some sort.
Eucalyptus.
Okay.
I repeat my suggestion that we table this until Michelle is here.
Okay. All right. Do we need to make a motion on that, or do we just do it?
done.
Just do it? Okay. We will just do that. Natalie, could you give us an update on the Monterey pine removal?
So, Stuart and I met with Clay and kind of proposed it as something we would present to the Economic Development Subcommittee. And I think it was preferred to go around and speak or contact property owners.
Right. To do it more administratively. That idea of working with the property owners, because we have contacts with them, and say, you know, we've talked to Davy Tree and we've talked to whatever other one that we talked to, and I can't remember off the top of my head, and say, you know, if you guys do this as a package, we've talked and got a less expensive rate for you. And I think he also would say, from an administrative perspective, if we can, I don't know if there is a definitive timeline in the code as to how quickly you need to replace a tree. That was the other issue that we had talked about, was saying maybe that if you give them a little bit of time between removing the tree and replacing it, and I think he thinks that could be done administratively. So the more we can do administratively, the quicker we can do things. And that was Clay's goal, is to see if we can talk to the property owners and get something done as quickly as we can.
So is there anything that the committee can do to assist staff in this matter?
Now, I mean, Clay has contacts with the property owners.
Okay.
And
I don't remember, but did we discuss dead trees on public property? Because there's a great big Monterey pine on Quarry Road that's dead. And I think that tree died fairly recently. It seemed like it went downhill really fast.
oh,
So,
if you take a picture and email it, when next time you're on Quarry Road, we'll talk to Public Works.
okay.
I mean, I could tell them to go on Quarry Road and find the dead tree, but
If it's on our property, I think it's on us to remove it.
right, it would be. So that's what Glenn is saying. She thinks it's on public right away.
If it's on a private person's property, I mean, they can just leave it dead. I mean, there's one up on Humboldt right now that's dead as a doornail, and
I don't know if there's an ordinance that actually requires you to remove a dead tree. I'd have to check.
I'm just curious because, you know, it's going to blow over. It's going to take something out when it comes down.
Right, and that will be the private property owner's
Insurance.
claim. We can check to see if there is a.
I thought we went over that question with
Maria.
Maria,
Yeah, I wasn't here.
and I think the answer was no. But I wouldn't be opposed to you double checking, Stuart.
Yeah, that's who I was going to ask.
So.
But on city property, the city will remove them?
Yeah, if a tree is dead, I think we would.
Oh, yeah, it's going to save you money in the long run. I mean,
Yeah,
wouldn't you? Just like these homeowners are going to
they're going to pay eventually.
They're deductible to have the insurance cover the cost of removing the tree and paying for the property damage than it is going to be for a tree service to come out and yank it.
There's no question it's smart. It's just getting
And
it
the
to
lady
happen.
said that, I forget her name, Maria or something.
Maria.
Yeah, she said that you can't force them to, I think.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pretty sure that's what she said.
I do. It's been a little while. I usually go in.
Because I don't have a smartphone to send a picture.
Yeah,
Oh.
I mean, I certainly can go down there next time I go down there. It's just, I'm going away this weekend and then going away next week. But,
Yeah, okay. I'll get
I'll have Natalie. I can have Natalie walk Quarry Road and try and find it.
Yeah, I don't have a smartphone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I might be able to do it on Friday when Sophia graduates from Silver Spot, because I'll be right there. And,
Okay.
Or
So-
you can send me a snapshot on Google Maps. Do you think if you looked on a map
I don't have anything to take a picture with.
on your
She's talking about Google
laptop,
Still okay.
if you do a
Oh,
snapshot
finding it on Google Maps. Oh, I see.
to narrow it down?
You see, my problem would be I'd have a real problem trying to find a dead tree.
Oh, Stuart,
usually
that's pretty
brown.
scary.
It is, but
This is a pine tree. I'm pretty sure you could do it.
okay. It wouldn't have needles. I think I could do that.
Typically, they're brown.
No, it has
Brown.
red needles.
Oh, I could do that. Okay.
No
I'll
greenery.
turn off my microphone now and go to the next item.
One other tree question. Did we ever find out whether those very dead oak trees on, I guess it's Bayshore.
Oh, yeah.
Did we ever find out whether those are on city property?
Or if they're on the Cal Highway.
I remember you sent a picture to Maria, right?
No, what I sent was a description of the location. I actually heard back from someone named Joe, who told me, because I thought they might have sudden oak death. So he said he'd reported them to the sudden oak death database, but also they're just dead. And if it looks to me like whatever they died from is spreading to other oak trees. I mean, there are a couple of other oak trees with dead branches on them, so maybe it would be a good idea to get them out of there, but I don't know who they belong to.
Joe is head of our maintenance, so that's why you heard back from him.
Okay.
So we can check with Joe to see who they are, whether they're in the Caltrans right away or if they are
Okay.
a city right away.
Yeah, he didn't say anything about that. He just
No.
said that.
I'll have Natalie follow up with Joe.
Okay.
Natalie, follow up with Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell you, she sent me 2 things. I didn't do those yet, so. I've learned my lesson from that.
Right now, I'm really kicking myself for not getting back to you about the agenda, Natalie, and having you put one more thing on here, because with us dropping the street tree list and that being bumped to next time, we're gonna have a short meeting this time and hell next time. I think that just leaves us with the approval of the agenda.
Minutes.
Minutes, sorry. Yes, minutes. The only comment I had was under number 1, adoption of the agenda, item 10 will be moved to the next meeting. It would be nice to specify what number 10 was. But that would be useful, just for our record. Other than that, oh, wait. Page 2, under item 3, going down to where it says, Ebel asked if there are any publishings on guidelines. Publishing shouldn't be possessive.
Oh.
Yeah, second page, 3. There's an apostrophe S.
Oh.
Any other corrections from any of the other committee members on the minutes? Mike?
Nope.
Kima? Glenn, you're still reading. I can tell.
I'm good.
All right. May I have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. This meeting is now adjourned.
Awesome.
No, August 27th, end of August.
End of August. Oh.
Yeah, there was meeting. People were away on vacation.
Yeah, a bunch of people went on summer vacation, so.
That's nice.
Late. We're having a late meeting next month.
Cool. Yeah, right. It's something that's not allowed.
What time is it, you guys?
Disability retirement, you mean?
8:13.
Congratulations, Mrs. Chairperson.
Maybe I should have let